The NASCAR antitrust lawsuit trial has officially begun and is underway. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. Day number one from the NASCAR antitrust lawsuit of NASCAR versus 2011 Racing and FRM Motorsports is officially underway, and a lot of things are beginning to come out in regards to the lawsuit beginnings in this trial. Today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that has surfaced and give my thoughts on day number one of the trial. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into talking about the trial. So Bob Pockrass first reports that jury hasn't picked in NASCAR's antitrust trial. They will give more instructions in a bit in opening statements after lunch. But continuing on after that, Judge Kenneth Bell seemed perturbed, upset that both sides proposed visual presentations for opening statements, including immeasurable evidence or arguments, so he banned all visuals and exhibits from opening statements. What Judge Kenneth Bell you do not want to do against a judge in any sort of court case is you do not want to make the judge mad and pissed off. And Judge Kenneth Bell, multiple times before throughout this lawsuit, has been very frustrated with both sides, squabbling back against each other, going against each other, and trying to argue arguments in an opening statement. According to what Shannon McMenemy says, she says this is stuff that you basically do and you, I believe in a closing argument, I'm pretty sure. You don't do it in an opening argument in your opening statements. You do it in a closing statement at that point. Now, both sides were able to give their opening statements, but some very interesting things that basically has happened in regards to the jurors as well after they were selected. Matt Weaver reports, Court entered a 20-minute break following the selection of 6 jurors and 3 backups. Largely procedural stuff that is normal. Now, according to him, one juror candidate was dismissed for working at Hendrick Automotive Group, and another was dismissed for knowing a great deal about NASCAR and the parties involved. Then, of course, Matt Weaver reports the candidate poll was asked, amongst other questions, if they were familiar with Michael Jordan and if they had strong opinions about one way or the other. One candidate said yes. Judge Kenneth Bell asked, so you have feelings, and don't tell me what they are, about Michael Jordan that would prevent you from being fair or partial. The candidate said yes. The candidate then was dismissed, and on his way out the door, made a fist pump gesture at MJ, and they shared a laugh. Everyone in the gallery laughed. The judge says he appreciated the honesty. So at least the juror in there, by the way, I wasn't in the jury room there, but that's pretty funny that a juror basically had a side, which is basically when it comes to a case like this, I'm pretty sure some has said you have to have a jury that's going to be fair and impartial. You don't want a jury that's basically have bias in the case. That's one reason why they wanted to have an impartial jury, and this is not shocking and surprising at that point. And then another juror who made it joked on his questionnaire that his hobby was heavy drinking and needing the defendant as not as impairment to serving. That's interesting for sure. Then apparently it was reported by Matt Weaver that Johnny Stephenson of Allison and Bird is now the argument attorney for NASCAR, and he opened the morning by introducing himself to Judge Kenneth Bell. After this 20-minute break, the jury will receive instructions after that. Continuing on, here's a possible witness list for everybody, including NASCAR, their side, 2011 front row side, and other witnesses are not involved in the team side. The witness list includes Jim France, Timothy Frost, Heather Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, Brian Herbst, Bob Jenkins, Lisa France Kennedy, Michael Jordan, Jonathan Marshall, Steve Newmark, Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps, Curtis Pohl, Scott Prime, Daniel Rasher, Anthony Smith, Edward Snyder, Jordan Bazent, Tim Clark, Rick Hendrick, Ron Drager from ARCA, Jerry Freese from Front Row, Rob Kaufman, Ben Kennedy, Steve LaLetta, Gene Mason, Gene Motto, Roger Penske, John Probst, Cal Wells Jr., Edwin Dresser, Kevin Murphy, and one name that I do not believe he mentioned in the tweet, but Richard Childress as well, is another name that is also a witness list at this point, though I don't think that witness is going to be used in this case. Now let's talk about opening arguments. According to Adam Stern, NASCAR 2011 front row presented opening arguments, with 2011 front row asserting evidence will show NASCAR engaged in anti-competitive behavior, while NASCAR asserted the teams only brought up antitrust charters after talks and interactions that signaled that they benefit from charters. I gotta be real and honest, this really doesn't help NASCAR's case in that situation, because basically saying they only brought it up, yeah, that doesn't really help your case, NASCAR. It's not really going to be a good look for you when it comes to the court of law. So that's something that basically happened. Then Jeff Gluck and others report day one is complete. A jury was selected there. And then basically, they started having the opening statements. Bob Parker's report, court done for today. Opening statements in about 40 minutes of Denny Hamlin's testimony. Apparently, Denny Hamlin teared up when talking about his family invested in his racing. So Denny Hamlin, who we don't normally see get very emotional in those cases, he basically got extremely emotional in the case that was going on at that particular point, which I can understand when you get emotional. He was talking about his father and talking about his family as well. And there's been other stuff that's come out from people like Adam Stern as well, where he said when Denny Hamlin, of course, was called as the first witness and responding to a question from his lawyers about why he doesn't feel the charter system is currently fair, your costs aren't covered to put on their show. Basically talk about the cost that the teams have isn't going to go basically to the cost to put on the show for NASCAR, quintessentially when it comes to a racing product, among other things as well. Now, the reason that Denny Hamlin basically went out there as a first witness, there was something that came out in a ruling, I believe, that came out earlier today, where NASCAR basically ruled that Denny Hamlin, Curtis Polk will be barred from courtroom until their testimony. The judge said he felt reluctantly ruled this way because I really do wish you could be here, but NASCAR invoked a rule about only having one courtroom representative per side. And the judge says he's wary of triggering a legal technicality over this. They can be in a room for opening statements later today, but they must leave until their testimony has concluded, which is why Denny Hamlin and Curtis Polk are likely both going to have their testimonies. Now, it has also been reported by other reporters as well that Denny Hamlin had only gone through 40 minutes of his opening testimony, but he basically still has not finished at opening testimony and basically spoken at points on everything there. So Denny Hamlin still officially has to complete basically doing his witness testimony before he basically does have the opportunity to go back in the courtroom. He still basically has to go through that at that point. And then there's some other stuff that has come out very recently as well. Here's what Denny Hamlin said. Denny Hamlin testimony continues Tuesday. Among what he said in day number one, according to Bob Parkers. 2311 page JGR, $8 million for the Alliance, $2.66 million per car. On 11 of the 19 original charter teams no longer around, there's only one side going out of business. That is in reference to the teams. Quip, when asked about a season, can I plead the fifth? And Matt Weaver actually did a much better job kind of talking about them. We'll talk about Denny Hamlin's testimony there in just a second. But apparently, Kessler tried to explain things in a way jury would understand. He likened charters to leasing a home. It can be taken away from you at end of lease. He compared team owners to nurses who really want to be nurses, and if only one hospital in town must take hospital offer to work. That is a very interesting comparison in regards to that. Now, continuing on as well, opening statements, pretty much the same arguments we've heard before. 2011 stress, email, text showed anti-competitive strategy of NASCAR with Jim France lieutenants O'Donnell, Phelps, Prime, knowing charter offers were unfair. Only reason 2011 profitable is because Michael Jordan can get sponsors. That is very interesting to say the least. I think you can argue that Bubba Wallace is also bringing sponsorship in, and he has sponsors working with them. It can also argue Tyler Reddick, who has sponsorship with Tyler Reddick, and with Monster Energy, I should say, and other sponsors working with him, like Pinnacle, I'm pretty sure, he is able to bring sponsors in. Meanwhile, talking about Front Row, they're also losing money at that point as well. And Matt Weaver also did a pretty good job as well, kind of discussing some of the things as well in the tweets that he put out, talking about some of the witness statements. Matt Weaver does report notable quotes. Did you graduate? Did you graduate? They gave me a diploma. I don't know why that question was asked, to be honest. But continuing on, how did your most recent season go? Can I plead the fifth? I don't think anyone is prosecuting you. I was leading the championship race with 3 to go. The caution came out, I lost. Hamlin seemed to strategically bring up that teams are having to compete with NASCAR for sponsorship and did so 3 times. Buying Germain. They lost their sponsorship to NASCAR and went out of business. What does Denny Hamlin do at 2311? Competitions and sponsors when he brought up competing with NASCAR. Why did 2311 spend so much on airspeed? Sponsorship. First, I have to fend off the series. If a new sponsor wants to come in, NASCAR will go after them. I have to fight them. I have to fight other teams for them. I have to fight them for employees. Denny cried when being asked how he got started in NASCAR because he brought up my dad. He's in bad health. More talk about the cost of field just a car, $20 million how this charter provides, which he said $12.5 million. Does he think the charter agreement is fair? If the terms are fair, so many teams wouldn't have gone out of business. Only one side is going out of business. Denny has NASCAR controls their costs, and it fluctuates due to mid-season rule changes, which sometimes cost $1.5 million per car in international races. That's where the day ended, and we'll pick up tomorrow in regards to that. Now, there's also been some other stuff that I believe has been reported as well in regards to the case. Apparently, NASCAR attorney John Sevison did open statement and stress, why did 2011 front row buy charters as system anti-competitive? Why didn't 2011 front row bring up anti-competitive issues in charter talks? Recent $45 million sale of charters of Rickwood Racing and Legacy, that's $1.5+ billion in value for the team. So the teams are making a little bit more money, and that's the one thing they're arguing in this case as well. It is, as this time progresses and goes on with this lawsuit, as we do get farther into the trial, again, day number 2, you're going to hear Denny Hamlin's opening testimony. Basically, his witness testimony is going to go out. You do have the judge, like I said, it sounds like he was not very happy and was very frustrated with both sides on day number 1 of the trial. And I mentioned before this, but you do not want to make the judge frustrated and pissed off. And I think there's going to be a lot more information that is going to continue on. I'm not sure what kind of evidence is going to be released on both sides, because we've seen a lot of evidence come out during the discovery process, and some of the stuff that came out during the discovery process, which I believe the teams presented like 850, 860 pages of exhibits, while NASCAR presented over 900, I'm pretty sure. So some of that is going to be used, I believe, during the trial, I'm pretty sure. And as time progresses and goes on, there's going to be a lot of testimonies. I find some of the names interesting on the witness list for this. Ben Kennedy doesn't surprise me or shock me. Lisa France Kennedy. And speaking of the representative side of things, I'm not sure which representative they're going to use. I would not be surprised or shocked if Ben Kennedy is the one that is on the NASCAR side of the representative table, because Michael Jordan for the 2011 front row side makes the most sense in that part. And then, of course, on NASCAR side, I would have to think it's probably going to be Ben Kennedy. Ben Kennedy does have a lot of good faith from a lot of people in the industry, and a lot of people do like Ben Kennedy. He's one of the few people down on the NASCAR side that I don't think people really hate at this point right now. So I would have to think he most likely will be on the side. Kind of surprised, by the way, Jerry Mayfield is not involved in the case, being on the side of 2011 front row. I thought that would have been funny if he was involved there. And again, I'm not making predictions in regards. I'm just going to cover everything and all the facts for you guys. I think it's very important when it comes to this case to present all the facts that are going on throughout this trial. And this trial is going to last 2 weeks. It's going to last from today up until the 5th, which day number 1 is concluded. So we got 4 more days this week on the trial from the 2nd to the 5th, and a lot of things are going to happen throughout there, and then we'll basically have a couple days off, which at that point we got Snowball Derby and some other racing going on, and then of course the next week after that we do have more of the lawsuit stuff going on from the, I believe, the 8th to the 12th. I think the jury decision comes the 15th, but I'm not entirely sure, and will depend on there. But this trial could last, well, it's going to last 2 weeks, but this antitrust lawsuit case, which the judge basically wanted to have certain things done, so he doesn't want to have to be back in the courtroom, which I completely understand. A lot of this, they want to have this done before the end of, but basically they don't want to go to appeal side of things, but there is a chance that this whole thing could end up getting appealed, and both sides could definitely have some interesting things that come out from that, regardless of who wins the lawsuit. Whether it's NASCAR winning the lawsuit, or 2011 Racing or Front Row, or the team side of things winning the lawsuit, it is very likely that we're going to see an appeal happen. And this lawsuit may not just happen going into 2026, but there could be ramifications for 2027 or 2028, and we could see this lawsuit last for a few more years. I wouldn't be surprised or shocked about that at this point. I think this lawsuit is going to last for quite some time, and even though we're going to have this trial, and it's a very important day, and again, this trial is probably the most important thing that's happened in the sport in a very long time, probably the most important thing that's happened in the last 25 years, I think that this will go on for a few years, and I think this is going to last for quite some time. As more information does come out about the lawsuit, we'll talk about as time progresses and goes on, and as more information does surface while I'm editing, you'll probably see more stuff coming in the video added. So, that is going to be it for day number 1 of the coverage of the lawsuit. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go some more of that and comment your thoughts below on today's video. What are your thoughts on day number 1 of the lawsuit trial? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, I'm probably going to do a video doing an RFK preview for 2026 expected on the channel tomorrow. Then, of course, if we have more news on the lawsuit, we'll talk about it on the channel in the coming days. And then, of course, on Wednesday, Wednesday, we should have a NASCAR news video talking somewhat about the lawsuit, and if there's any updates on the lawsuit trial going on, we'll talk about it as well. And I would not be surprised if you see a video every day recapping everything that happens throughout the trial. So it's going to be a busy time on this channel. We got some bold predictions dropping soon, other big videos, a silly season updates coming in the next couple of weeks, and other videos are on the way. We got content coming in people like Haley Leading and Shaman Gisborne, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bolos, Ross Chastain, Charlie Creed, Sam Mayer, Frankie Muniz, Kyle Larson, Chase Light, Ryan Priest, Brad Keselowski, Cletus Savon, Dodge Ram, Michael Jordan, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, Connor Zilch, Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, Will Brown, Brad Feeney, Robbie Gordon, all that good stuff. Red Bull we'll talk about on the channel in the coming days and coming weeks as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.